All right, 10:44 now, and tick-tock. You are just over 100 hours and counting left to have your taxes done, filed, and sent in. But if you haven't done it yet, Connecticut tax attorney Ann Brooks is here to help and give us some last-minute tips. Good morning to you. And I think last-minute, early tips, everything in between, because with the new tax code, everything has been a little bit up in the air.
It feels unfamiliar.
A lot of people have been wading very slowly into these waters, and maybe that's why they're kind of up against the wall.
They are, and there's a lot of misconceptions about the deadlines and the costs of blowing the deadlines.
Right.
A lot of people think that getting an extension to file your tax return is an extension to pay. You don't want to make that mistake. You need to pay by the 15th, even if you're on extension.
Right. Let's talk about that for a second now, because the deadline is still the deadline. It's still the deadline, and that's Monday night at midnight.
Yes.
So by then you have to have one of two things done. You either have to have the taxes done and sent in if you're paying or whatever you're filing to get that refund.
Right.
Or you just mentioned the extension.
Right.
But if you don't have the money to pay for whatever you may owe, there are ways around that as long as you file the extension, right?
Yes, filing and paying are separate.
Right.
But it gets confusing because they usually are a package deal. Many people have their tax returns prepared on time for Monday, and sometimes they see a balance due and it scares them. They think, oh no, I can't quite cut the check.
Oh, it scared me weeks ago.
Oh no. But a lot of people make a mistake of not filing their return in that circumstance.
Yeah.
They figure, when I have the money, I'll file it with the check.
And this was the thing that surprised me the most, because there are two different penalties involved when it comes to whether or not you owe money or not. You have to, if you file the extension, that's going to save you a lot more money down the line than if you just say, oh, I'll get to it when I get to it.
Well, if you pay by Monday, then the penalty for filing late is up to 25%. It's 5% per month, capped at 25%.
Is that high?
That's not
That's
new.
always the way it's been?
Always been that way.
Because that's a
So
staggering
that's an
number.
example
Right.
of the return that's prepared, and you say, I can't quite afford it now, so I'll wait to file.
Okay.
And the penalty is based on what you owe.
So
the more you pay,
avoiding that, you can keep that number down and away from 25%.
Right.
Think about that for a second.
Right. The penalty,
by doing what?
Right. And the penalty for late paying is 1/2 of 1%. So a big difference.
Okay.
And if you, on Monday, if you've paid in 90% of the total tax you owed last year, the late payment penalty will not apply if you file on time with the extension.
If you get to 90%.
Right. Now, the IRS has given an extra 10% break this year because of the uncertainty the new tax law has created.
Okay, yeah, and maybe that's the other question, that the IRS kind of knows that, okay, with all these new rules and whatnot, or what the credits are different here and there, so they're kind of being, I don't want to say generous, because it is the IRS we're talking about, but at the very least, they're being a little forgiving in that regard.
They're being more flexible because the certainty wasn't the same with all the changes.
There are lots of changes, and again, you've got about 100 hours. I keep saying that because like, let's go. But if you have any questions, we'll hook you up with our tax attorney right on our website at fox61.com. I'm glad that I took care of this weeks ago. I'm not glad that it was a real eye-opener for me, and I fear that if you haven't done it yet, that eye-opener is coming to you this weekend, so brace yourself. Ann Brooks, thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
Lots of good information. We appreciate you.